Strap in, the round the world adventures conclude as I fly from Barcelona back to London Heathrow with British Airways in their Club Europe cabin. I'll review the service and how it compares to the other short-haul flights on the trip. And I'll reveal how many Avios and tier points I earned from the trip. Will it qualify me for gold status in the BA Club? Let's find out. Welcome to the channel. With over 20 years of business class flying and more than 1 million miles in the air, I've seen it all at 25,000 feet. Now I'm taking things to the next level, an unforgettable round-the-world journey in business class, from London through Asia, across the Pacific and into the Americas. Join me each fortnight as I dive into every detail, the luxury, the letdowns and honest reviews of each flight experience. Love travel, aviation or just chasing the thrill of the skies? Hit that subscribe button and join me for the adventure of a lifetime. My journey started early morning at Barcelona Airport Terminal 1. There was a traffic jam getting towards the terminal, with finding a drop-off spot fairly challenging. British Airways check-in desks were at one end of the terminal. It was a bank holiday Monday and the terminal was busy with people returning from long weekends away. Fortunately, there were no queues at the dedicated Club Europe check-in desks. The baggage allowance was 2 checked bags, each weighing up to 32 kilograms or 70 pounds, with maximum dimensions of 90 centimetres by 75 by 43. The bags were tagged as priority. British Airways operated 9 direct flights between Barcelona and London on the day I flew, 8 to London Heathrow and a 9th to London City. From check-in, it was a walk to the other end of the terminal to access the fast-track security lane. There was a long queue at fast-track because the conveyor belt on the scanner had broken. After security, you went down escalators, then walked through the main Shannon departure lounge and up more escalators to access the immigration checkpoint. Immigration was slow as there were a number of flights to the US and Middle East departing around the same time. From immigration, it was up escalators back to the same level as security, through duty free and then down a floor to the business lounge. There were also queues to enter the lounge, which accepted priority pass holders as well as airline premium passengers. It was a fairly standard airport lounge with a range of tables and chairs and sofas. It being breakfast time, a selection of cold foods and pastries was available. The queues at security and immigration meant there wasn't much lounge time. It was soon time to head past the even longer queue to enter the lounge and head to the gate. The gate was fairly close by, just a couple of minutes walk away. If you're enjoying the review, please do give it a thumbs up. At the gate, queues had already started to form for general boarding and priority boarding. The flight was on an Airbus A321neo aircraft, registration Golf Tango November Echo Delta. It was just 1 year old. Soon boarding started. Club Europe passengers boarded in Group 1 after those needing extra time. Club Europe seating was at the front of the aircraft. There were 9 rows of business class with 2 seats either side of the single aisle. I was at the very front of the aircraft in seat 1 Alpha. Between the used seats was a third seat which had a console placed on top of it. The seat had a width of 17.7 inches. The pitch between rows was 30.4 inches, however the front row had even more legroom. Overhead were large luggage bins where cases could sit on their sides. A disadvantage of row 1 was that the armrests are all fixed, with the tray table folding out from one. Below the seat was a USB-A and USB-C port. Overhead were reading lights and individual air vents. The air bridge was retracted 20 minutes ahead of the scheduled departure time. There was then a bit of a delay as a member of the ground crew had left their computer in the hold. Computer found, a manual safety briefing was delivered by the cabin crew. We pushed back from the gate.
Cabin crew doors to automatic cross-check.
We had a 10-minute taxi across the airfield to take off from runway 24 left. We waited near the runway for about 15 minutes as 3 other aircraft overtook us to take off. We finally arrived at the runway at 11:31 AM. As we take off, it's time to thank my supporters in the doors to automatic cabin crew. Just £4 per month gives you early access to reviews and other behind the scenes content. Head over to Patreon to join the cabin crew. The flight time from Barcelona to London was scheduled to be 2 hours and 25 minutes, routing over the Pyrenees, crossing over the west of France and the Channel Islands, and then the Isle of Wight and southern England. Wi-Fi was available on the flight at £8 for the entire journey. Download speeds were 1.4 megabits per second. Although BA has recently announced they will be installing free high-speed Starlink Wi-Fi on their fleet from next year. Within 15 minutes of takeoff, drinks were offered. The tray table folded out from under the armrest. For the meal there was a choice of 3 main courses: a Thai prawn curry, a chicken salad or tomato pasta bake. This was served on a tray alongside a small starter, dessert and bread roll. A linen napkin and metal cutlery were provided. I chose the Thai prawn curry, which was flavoursome. An alternative was the chicken salad. Overall, it was a good meal for a short-haul flight, although a little odd to be served lunch before noon. There was one toilet for Club Europe passengers at the very front of the aircraft. By aircraft standards, it was fairly large and very well maintained. Premium toiletries from the White Company were provided. A baby changing table folded down from the wall. I booked my round-the-world ticket with the One World Alliance. The ticket included 9 flights departing from London, flying 28,000 miles and arriving back in London just over 3 weeks later. The business class ticket cost £7,985. Booking each flight separately could have cost as much as £14,185. So at just 28 pence per mile, I thought this was very reasonable for a premium ticket. As my round-the-world adventures drew to a close, I reflected on the overall trip. What would this epic journey mean for future loyalty status? I put every flight against my British Airways club account. How many tier points did I earn? The first flight from London to Colombo with Sri Lankan earned 1,355 points. The second Sri Lankan flight from Colombo to Kuala Lumpur earned 382 points. A Cathay Pacific flight from KL to Hong Kong earned 393 points, and their long-haul flight to LA 1,812 points. American Airlines from LA to Miami earned 551 points, and then 968 for the onward flight to Rio. Iberia from Rio to Madrid earned 595 points, and the shuttle to Barcelona an additional 36 points. This final BA flight earned 359 points, making a total of 6,451 tier points. So under BA's new status system, not only did this trip not qualify me for gold status, but it didn't even make silver. On the old system, the trip would have more than qualified me for silver status and would be 2/3 of the way to gold. We came into land on runway 09 left at Heathrow and taxied back along the airfield to a gate at the main Terminal 5 building. So how did I rate the flight? Check-in was good. It was fast and efficient with no waiting, although both fast-track security and immigration took some time. The lounge was a fairly standard affair. Boarding worked well. The seat was okay. It's the one area where European short-haul business class isn't as good as either US or Asian carriers, where proper wide business seats and a decent recliner offered. However, the soft product was far better than American Airlines. The crew on board were fantastic, with a very friendly, bright welcome for every passenger at the boarding door. The food and drinks were good, although nowhere near the standard set by Cathay Pacific or Sri Lankan short haul earlier in the trip. The delays in departure because of the mislaid computer weren't too inconvenient and could have happened on any airline. The Wi-Fi was a nice feature, although with fairly low speeds. The launch of Starlink will improve that though. Overall, a good experience. But what do you think? Which of the flights on this trip do you think was the best? Let me know in the comments. That concludes the epic round the world trip, but next time I'm flying economy from London to New York. How will I cope? Subscribe now to find out.